The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Chelan County, Washington, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34669. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting on the outer edge of the bumper face, you'll find dual air horns located on the passenger and driver side. Just inside of that location on the passenger side is where you'll find your electronic siren PA speaker. Also just inside of that location, you'll find 2 forward-facing tow hooks, and directly in the center you'll find your mechanical siren. Let's move up onto the top of the body. On the outer edge is where you'll find a clearance marker light. Just inside of that location you'll find your turn indicator. And as we move further inside, you'll find the headlight structure housing a low and high beam headlight. The high beam will be on the inside. As we move up from that location, you'll find forward-facing emergency warning lights, and on the outer edges you'll find your mirrors housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 running lights across the top. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. And as we move up onto the roof of the apparatus, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located inside the light bar, directly in the center, is your opticom. Just over the top of the light bar is where you'll find a controlled spotlight from inside the cab. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items that we just talked about, first starting down at the very bottom with the bumper. Moving up now to the grille area. And then we'll move all the way up to the very top. You'll see that forward-facing flood and also emergency warning light bar. Let's go ahead and move around to the side of the apparatus. We'll start on the driver's side with the front cab area. Let's identify some emergency warning lights, one just aft of the bumper extension, and then also one at the rear section of the cab. As we move to the center directly over the front axle, you'll find your auto eject plug, and then you'll also find 2 grab handles for points of entry inside the cab. You do have paddle latches which are locking. And then as we move up to the very top section here in the center of the cab is where you'll find a side-facing floodlight. As we move to the rear cab wall, on the side sheet is where you'll find a water tank level indicator. Let's take a look at some close-ups, first with the auto charge system and auto eject. We'll go ahead and start with the pump panel area. We'll identify a few items within the pump panel. Let's start in the upper left-hand corner, first with a long backboard storage location, 2 lift and turn handles to gain access into that location, and then also grab the red pull strap, which will allow you to gain access to the crossload. You'll find there are 3 crosslay locations here. Let's move now just to the right of this location, and this is where you're going to find the gray module, which houses your master intake and master discharge. Starting on the left is your master intake gauge. Moving just to the right in that same area, you'll find your master discharge gauge. Between the 2 of those gauges, you'll find the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged and are used for testing purposes. Let's move down onto the pump panel. Just under the light shield is where you'll find the number 1 crosslay. It is foam capable. I'd also like to point out a few warning labels here. There is an entanglement hazard because of those crosslays. Be cautious because of those entanglement hazards. As we move further down, you'll find the number 1 and number 2 crosslay, once again water and foam capable. On the left, you'll find some placards regarding your Husky Foam System 3. It is the instructions and also specifications. As you can see, all of your crosslays, discharges are identified via color and also labeling. As we move to the red module, you'll find your Husky Foam System. There are instructions on the actual placard itself. And also as we look to the left, you'll find your green on-off for the system, and then also a digital readout for the foam percentage. Moving further down, you'll find 2 gray buttons. One is increase, the other is decrease. And as we move to the right, you'll find a prime button.
There are instructions regarding the status system. If you look at the operating instructions, number 4, that will give information regarding the status of your system. Moving to the right, you'll find the foam level indicator for foam tank A. As we move further to the right, you'll find a deluge discharge. This is a wheel valve open and close. And as we move to your pump boss, we'll identify a few items within this. First, starting on the left, if illuminated, it would be yellow, it would be a check engine light. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find a digital readout for the RPMs. And then further to the right, you'll find a stop engine, which would illuminate in red. As we move down, we have a blue button labeled Menu. This allows you to scroll through the various menu functions of your pump boss. Directly in the center, you'll find diagnostic engine information. And as we move all the way to the right on the pump boss, you'll find a red silence button. This allows you to silence any audible alarms that may be sounding. As we move down, we have two options, either pressure control or RPM control. This is how you would select either of those two. We do have a digital readout in the center, and then moving to the right, you'll find a green indicator regarding throttle ready. Just beneath that, you'll find a preset button, which is green, allowing you to preset any pressure or RPM mode. As we move all the way down to the very bottom, you'll find the throttle, right to increase and left to decrease. Push in the very center for idle position. As we move to the right, you'll find the audible alarm speaker. The outer edge of that speaker bezel does allow you to dampen the sound or increase the sound by simply rotating. Moving to the right, you'll find your panel lights. Just beneath that, you'll find an OK to pump. This is an indicator. If you've engaged your pump properly from inside the cab, this will be illuminating green. As we move down, we do have a left scene and then also a red air horn button. Let's move directly down from this location into the next area of the pump panel, where we'll find the tank fill and recirculating line. As we move just to the right, you'll find the engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. And then as we move down to the left, you'll find a fuel tank level indicator. And then also to the right, you'll find the water level indicator for your tank. Indications from full, 3/4, half, quarter, and refill flashing red. As we move just to the right, you'll find your fire pump primer. It is a push to prime air prime, and there are instructions regarding best practices, 1000 RPMs when engaging. Just to the right, you'll find a fire pump overheat indicator. And as we move downward from this location, you'll find a placard. Only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and only after they've received proper training. Just beneath that, you'll find the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. On the left is the associated GPM at test pressure, and on the right, the associated RPM at test pressure, with a governed speed of 2,100 RPMs. Let's move just to the right now, where you'll find the discharges. These are both 2.5-inch discharges. They are color-coded and labeled. Because of those discharges, we do have a warning label. It's a pressure hazard warning. Be cautious when opening caps that may be under pressure. This relates to the first placard regarding the 150, 200, and 250 test pressures. That's your minimum operation maintenance schedule. Located directly in the center behind the Pierce American Flag Eagle is your large diameter pump intake. And then to the right, we have an additional warning label here regarding fall hazard. Be cautious when climbing on the side of your vehicle. As we move to the pan door, you'll find your foam fill operations. There are instructions on the door that match the yellow handle down in the lower area. Let's take a look down at the very bottom of the pump panel area. This is where you're going to find all your color-coded and labeled associated drains. As we move just to the right, a couple more placards here. First, starting at the top, we have the red placard from Watrous. You have a 1,500 GPM pump capacity and also the pump model CSU. To the right, you'll find your driver's side auxiliary inlet. That's a female inlet. And then just beneath that, you'll find the main pump drain. As we move from this location just to the right, we've got an additional warning label here regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of concentrate for your foam failure. Also to the right, you'll find the lever regarding the draft foam tank and also the fill location at the bottom. Also just to the left, we have a manual pump shift. And just down in the diamond plated area where the step well is, you'll find an additional hose storage location. Underneath that area is where you'll find your foam pump intake drain and also the foam pump discharge drain. Let's move from this location now and go to the body on the driver's side. Just in front of and rear of the axle is where you'll find the storage location for your folding wheel chocks. As we move upward from that location on the side, just in front of the axle, you'll find a marker turn indicator light. And then also you'll find fill locations for your DEF and also ultra low sulfur diesel. We'll go over those in a moment. Just above that, you'll find SCBA bottle storage location. And then as we move upward from that location, you'll find an emergency light at the very back, 360, and then also a mid-level warning light. Let's take a look inside the compartments. First, starting on the left-hand side of the vertical sheet is where you'll find the auto charge system. When plugged into shore power, your battery charging system will maintain your batteries. Also to the right, you'll find the air compressor, which will also maintain brake pressure. Got a few close-ups of those items. Once again, these will only activate when plugged into shore power. These are shoreline outlet plugs, which are 20 amp. Let's take a look at those compartments just above the axle. 2 SCBA bottles in the front area and also a DEF fill location. It's the blue cap. As we move to the very rear is where you'll find your ultra low sulfur diesel. We'll go over that in just a moment. As we look down to the bottom, we have an axle, Goodyear tires, and also Alcoa wheels. Moving upward from that location, you'll find LED lighting and also an adjustable shelf in this compartment. Moving to the lower section, 2 SCBA bottle storage locations and also the silver ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. Let's take a look at the very rear compartment. Once again, LED lighting, adjustable shelving. The very bottom is a pull-out tray. The release mechanism is on the lower right-hand side of the tray itself. Let's move down to the rear of the apparatus. We'll identify a few items within this area. First, let's start on the left and right side. You'll find 2 marker lights at the very lower corner. You'll also find a cluster housing emergency light, brake light, turn, and backup light. Just inside of that location, you'll find an air outlet. Moving further up, you'll find a switch on the left-hand side here, or the driver's side. This is your deck lights. And then moving up more toward the center, you'll find a discharge outlet. And then moving just inside of that location directly over the roll-up door is where you'll find your traffic advisor. Moving up to the very top, you'll find that side-facing and rear-facing 360-degree emergency warning light at the rear. And then also as we move to the very rear of the hose bed, you'll find adjustable scene lights. Let's take a look at some close-ups, first starting with the switch on the driver's side. This is the deck light switch. Just inside of that location is where you'll find your air outlet for your air tool. I would like to point out a few warning labels. First, starting a fall hazard. When climbing on or off the vehicle, always use 3 points of contact. As we move further down, you'll find a pressure hazard. Be cautious when opening caps, they may be under pressure. As we move just to the left, you're going to find your discharge. This is the rear water and foam capable, and then also your traffic advisor. And we do have an entanglement hazard located directly in the center. Because of those lines coming off the rear of the apparatus, there is the possibility of entanglement. Let's take a look down at the roll-up compartment door. You'll find in the very center area a roll-out tray. On the right-hand side is the release mechanism for that tray. Once it's pulled fully out, it will lock into position, requiring you to push the button to move it back into position. Let's take a look up at the very top section of your apparatus. This is your ladder rack. It has a 24-foot and a 14-foot extension. It also has a 10-foot attic and also some pike poles, and we'll go over that in a moment. As we look to the very center, you can see there are 4 dividers movable within your hose bed area. Your hose bed is covered on the very top section. There are release mechanisms and also grab handles. As we move toward the dunnage area of your apparatus, you'll find a top fill location for your water tank and then also a top fill location for your foam tank A. You'll also find the yellow diamonds that are reflective around the outer edges, indicating the edge of the walking surface. Couple close-ups here, water tank fill location. As we move to the foam tank A, I do have a warning label here regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam. Moving now forward to the dunnage area is where you'll find your Husky foam system reservoir. It's on the left-hand side. As we move to the very center, you'll find a wheel valve which will control the master stream device in the center. And then also on your booster line, you'll find a location for manual rewind. As we look now to the Husky 3 foam system, you'll find this is the reservoir fill location. And we'll go ahead and take a look now forward of the dunnage to the crosslay area, where you'll find a few things on the back wall. One, on the passenger and driver side, you'll find LED pole lights. In addition, on top of the cab, you'll find warning labels here regarding a non-walking surface. Let's move now around to the passenger side. We'll start at the very rear of the body. Compartments are currently closed. We do have some additional items I'd like to talk a little bit about when it comes to inside the compartments. Down in the lower right-hand side, once again, is the release mechanism for those trays. It will lock once again in position, requiring you to release the shelf to restore back to its normal position. As we move to the rear of the axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage for 3 bottles with retaining straps. As we move directly over the rear axle, you'll find a tool board. D-handle gains access to open. At the hinge side, you'll find a lock. When it has been opened all the way, it will lock in position, requiring you to unlock to restore. In front of the axle, you'll find retaining straps for those SCBA bottles for 3. And this is what I wanted to point out, was your warning label here regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious as to where you park your vehicle. Let's move forward to this location to the very front compartment. Once again, adjustable shelving and LED lighting. As we move now, just a general view here with all the compartments in the open position. You can see your ladder rack just above, and we'll go over that in a few moments. Let's first start in the crosslay at the midsection of your pumper. Same configuration as the driver's side. We have 3 crosslays, 2 crosslays and 1 dead lay. Also access to the long backboard storage via the 2 lift and turn latches. Let's take a look at the pole lights that we talked about earlier. You can see down at the lower section is the release mechanism, and then also you can tighten the nut on the outer edge to hold in position. On each side, you'll find, for example, this is the right pole light switch. There's obviously one on the left side. As we move to the pump panel, you'll find an access panel door to gain access to your hydraulic equipment rack. That's the fill location for that hydraulic oil. We also have an information here regarding the type of oil that goes inside the hydraulic ladder rack. Moving just to the right, you'll find the number 2 crosslay. It is foam capable. As we move further down, you'll find your cab lift. We do have a warning label and danger information regarding the use of this, and then also cab lift operating instructions to raise and also to lower the cab. As we move to the upper right, you'll find the red selector for lower or raise, and then the activate is on the lower left. As we move down in the pump panel area on the far left, you'll find an access panel door, which we'll go over in a moment. To the right, you'll find the Pierce logo, American flag eagle, large diameter passenger side intake. Moving just to the right, you'll find the large diameter passenger side discharge, and then further to the right, you'll find an additional 2.5-inch discharge. Moving just down underneath the large diameter is where you'll find your auxiliary inlet for the passenger side. It is a 2.5-inch female inlet. Let's go back to that pan door where you'll find the relief valve setting. It's in the upper left-hand corner of the Acron valve. Moving just to the right is where you'll find your powered equipment rack module. In the upper left, we do have a warning label here regarding the movement of your equipment, and also instructions here to raise and also to lower. In the upper section, you'll find the master on and off switch, which will gain a green light when it's on, and also the lift up or down switch. Some close-ups of the items we just talked about, first starting with the passenger side 2.5-inch female, and then moving to the right, all of your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's go over a couple safety items real quick. First, in the upper left, we do have a warning hazard. Always climb on or off the vehicle, facing the vehicle, and also with 3 points of contact. As we move, you'll also find a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Be cautious when removing caps that may be under pressure. Let's move now to the passenger side cab area. We'll first start in the officer position. Affixed to the door panel, you'll find all of our warning and safety information. As we move to the floorboard, you'll find an air horn foot pedal and also a mechanical siren foot pedal. As we move to the dash, your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, an airbag, that's the SRS, and you'll also find a warning label here regarding the mounting of items within this area. As we move up onto the top of the dash, you'll find 12-volt access via barrel style and also USB plug-in. Looking overhead in the dash area in the officer's position, we'll identify a few items starting on the far right with your AM/FM, Bluetooth, CD player, and weather band. Moving just to the left, you'll find a digital readout for your speedometer. And then moving further to the left on the same plane is where you'll find your Whelen siren control and also PA microphone plug-in location. In the very center, you'll find a Pierce Information Center regarding seat belts, red indicating they are in the seat and not belted, green that they are in the seat and belted. As we move to the front, you'll find a push-to-talk for your radio and also a vehicle data recording port. As we move to the very center between the officer and driver position, that's where you'll find your climate control for heat and defrost and air conditioning. Just beneath that, you'll find your brow light switch, left scene, right scene, siren brake for your mechanical siren, a momentary opticom switch, left pole and right pole. When any of these switches have been activated, green will illuminate in the background of the switch. Also just beneath that, you'll find 12-volt access and also your Go Light control module. Just a quick look around at the top of the engine cover area. And then now we'll move overhead to the air conditioning unit. We have control vents, and also in the very center, you'll find push on and off red and white lights. Let's move around now to the driver's side. Once again, affixed to the door panel, all of our safety and warning information regarding your apparatus. As we move to the floorboard of the driver's area, on the far right ankle area is where you'll find this placard. This is manufactured by Pierce for Chelan County Fire District 1. It has the date of manufacture, the 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number of the vehicle, the fluid capacities for the components and fluid types. As we move to about the left knee of the operator, you'll find your master battery switch, which is the red quarter turn. And as we move downward, you'll find the couple of switches. First, regen inhibit, ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and also some diagnostic ports. The green port is your engine, transmission, and ABS diagnostic port. You have a tech module and a display port. As we move to the dash area on the left-hand side, you'll find a red hazard light. Moving downward, you'll find the start switch and ignition. Moving further to the right, you'll find the EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master, activating and deactivating your emergency lights. To the right, you'll find your headlight switch and also a panel switch, allowing you to brighten or dim lights within the panel preview. As we move to the steering wheel, you'll find your vehicle is equipped also with a supplemental restraint system and airbag in the steering wheel. Let's take a look at the dash. We'll start on the left with the transmission oil, DEF level, and water temperature. On the right, you'll find the volts, fuel, front and rear air, speedometer and tachometer located in the center. Diagnostic information will display above and also below the speedometer. As we move to the right, you'll find this yellow diamond. This is the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. General view just to the right of the operator. Let's first start at the very center area with the Pierce Command Zone. A tremendous amount of information right here on your display. Please see your owner's manual for more information. I'd also like to point out your pump shift at the very top, instructions from road to pump, and also instructions from pump to road. 2 green indicators required before exiting the cab for pump operations. Let's move down from this location where you'll find a set of rocker switches. I would like to point out on your Allison transmission pad, you do have an indicator here to pump in drive. Also moving to the right, you'll find your engine brake on and off, a setting switch low, medium, and high, mirror heat, traction control, and front wheel lock. As we move downward from this location, this is where we're going to find your Allison transmission pad, a digital readout, and also in the upper right-hand corner, we saw the pump and drive indicator for pump operations. As we look overhead of the operator in the upper left-hand corner in this image, directly over the operator's head, you'll find this placard, information, height 10 feet 4.5 inches, length 30 feet 4.25 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating of 44,000 pounds. If you make any changes to your vehicle that may affect any of these, please update this placard. Moving further to the right, you'll find Emergency Master, roof light, front warning light, side warning light, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, high beam flash, and also your opticom switch. Once again, when any of these have been depressed, the outer edge will illuminate green. Moving to the right, an additional screen here with switches. We have at the very top all future switch locations if you need to add, and also at the very bottom section your siren brake for your mechanical siren, a diff lock, load manager, and also an air horn button. As we move further to the right on the same plane, you'll find your traffic advisor. Let's take a quick look at the center section again. I'd like to point out a few things. We do have a push to talk for your radio system and also your mirror controls for the right and left mirrors. Let's take a look back in the rear of the cab area. We'll start at the door panel where we have all of our safety and warning labels on each side. As we move inside that area in the very center, you'll find an additional access panel. We'll talk about that in a moment. Here is the warning labels regarding the door panel. Let's go back to that access panel where you'll find a lift and turn latch. As we look inside, this is the rear section of your engine. It's where you'll find all of your checks for your apparatus, for transmission and oil. Looking overhead, we have push on and off white or red lens lights. Let's look at the back wall of the apparatus. On each side, we have fold down seats, and also in the center, we have two forward-facing SCBA style seats which house SCBA bottles inside. Congratulations, Chelan County, Washington, Fire District Number 1 on your new Pierce Fire apparatus, job number 34669. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.